Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Let's Talk. Welcome, Let's Talk family. Today, we're just going to do a little talk on Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, and today is his Earth Day, birthday, as people say. And me and Faith and myself are just going to have a short talk about him and his impact upon what most people will say the culture, and just have a discussion. It's not going to be no a research show, but basically just a conversation about them. What's going on, Faith?
Nothing much. What's up? It's beautiful out.
Yeah, and we got a major heat wave coming this way. I think through
Yes.
Saturday, it's going to be really really hot. Any
It's,
big
it's
plans for
80
the
over
weekend?
here.
It's 80 now. It's 80 right now, right? Yeah, they
Yeah.
talking about it's going to be 97 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Any
But
any any crazy plans for the week?
since you said that, I might be hitting the beach.
Oh, the beaches. What beach you going to? Delaware?
I'll be going to the one in Jersey. I forget
Okay.
the name of it.
Okay. I know that officially quote unquote beach season opens up on Memorial Day. Everybody like to just go to the beach and do their thing and
I always cook out.
and
I love
and
a good old
and
cookout.
and bust it up. But I hit you up and I know I didn't know you wasn't busy, so I wanted to talk about Malcolm, and his impact. And I think that a lot of times his impact, we always talk about Malcolm during like his death, and instead of having a conversation about him on his birth date and basically talk about his life and his legacy and stuff like that. And I was saying before the show how even in this country, most famous people, when they make these days that they call holidays and say we're going to celebrate somebody's birthday, it's more of for the average person a day off.
Mhm.
And you may see a little bit of celebrations and stuff like that, but you don't really look at it as like, oh, it, definitely for Malcolm. He's not as palatable to the American psyche as maybe Martin was,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes that's where America misses the mark at, because you don't always have to agree with somebody's philosophy, belief, or perspective,
Hmm.
but you should respect it. And he has definitely influenced thousands and thousands of people. And basically, you could say now, because it's 40 years after he died, 40 some odd years after he got killed, you're talking about
Yeah.
two generations, his generation and the generation after. And even the babies know who Malcolm X was.
Yes.
So what's your thoughts? I mean, we all always heard the Malcolm X, and then when we were kids, when Dr. Betty Shabazz was alive, and then his daughters. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on Malcolm X? How do you view him?
Growing up, all you heard really was Martin Luther King. So, as I got older, I really found out what Malcolm X was about. And because Martin Luther King was about peace, so they had Malcolm X like he wasn't, but he really was. He was about peace. He wanted peace. He wanted just to be treated like everybody else. But he definitely believed in protecting yourself, protecting your family, protecting your sister and your brother. Like, and he didn't just protect his own family, he for the whole black community. That he cared about his people. He loved his people, and he wanted them to bear arms, to like basically don't be scared to fight for your life. Basically, you have that right.
Yeah, I find it interesting that you always see memes nowadays. You see memes and you'll see people and they'll be like, "I'm not like Martin, I'm like Malcolm," and I
Yeah,
always laugh and I say to myself like, "What Malcolm are you talking about?" Because if you're talking about Malcolm Freed, Nation of Islam, he was a pimp, he was a
yeah.
drug addict, he did all types of
He was a
mischievous things,
robber.
and before when he became a Nation of Islam, he was very boisterous, and I think that a lot of people will compare being somebody who's what I say is an evolutionist. I don't like to say revolutionary. They're evolutionary because we evolve and we become different than who we were yesterday.
Yeah, that's why.
And
Yeah.
when he was a minister for the Nation of Islam, he's very vocal, and he basically, as we would say nowadays, he spoke truth to power. So I
Mm-hmm.
think with that meme, or I think when people say that, they be feeling like, you know what, I speak truth to power. And I think I always say to myself, when a person says that they're going to be an activist, a voice for the people, that's a lonely road, and that's a road that you have to travel by yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
for some, they basically die by themselves.
Yeah. And that's the sad part. And I think that's why we don't have no strong leaders for us right now. They're afraid. They're afraid. Like, but they don't even know we will have their back. It's not back then, you
Yeah,
know.
it's funny. It's like a catch 22, right? It's like those that do try to say it now, they're easily bought. They're easily swayed, and because of social media, the way things is going, if you are going to be somebody that's going to speak truth to power, it's so. I think nowadays with all this technology, so many people, it's easy to ostracize somebody. Like I mean, you see the whole with all the truth seekers, or the truth tellers, or even those that just question things. When the big
Yeah.
C was running around, people that questioned taking the V and doing that, everybody was looking at them like, who you know, what you think, you woke or whatever. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how you gonna make somebody feel bad about a decision that they're making for themselves? Like we all was affected by certain things that have happened in the last couple of years, and if a person makes that decision for them and their family, they're ostracized. So a person like
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm nowadays would be like, whoa. I mean, and it's funny because you said it before we went on air, and we could use different narrations of how he died. He ultimately died because somebody that was from amongst him turned on him.
Yeah.
So it's really no difference than the truth tellers of today. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you really gonna do that, you gotta be alone. Like you can't allow yourself to get bought or swayed by anybody.
Exactly. Yeah, it just was really, it was really sad. And I kind of started living by, any means necessary. You know, I will protect myself at any means necessary. I taught my sons that at any means necessary. You don't start no trouble. You don't bother nobody, but you protect yourself at any means
I
necessary.
think what's funny. I think that 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 picture, that statement that he made is like so famous. And even when I did before, when the brother had came out with the Who Killed Malcolm X on Netflix, and my friend and myself and my friend sister Drea, we did a review show on it, and I think that a lot of people our age don't understand that he is considered, and Faith will be right back, but Malcolm is considered a hero to our generation, the younger generation, but he would have been considered,
Messing with me.
you know, yeah, I was saying is that Malcolm for our generation was like a hero.
Yeah,
We grew up, he was a hero. But when he got killed, he was like, according to the Nation of Islam, and how he left their organization, is like he was a Benedict Arnold. They hated him. They didn't like him, and the temperature surrounding him was very like, it's amazing. Like you be yesterday's freedom fighter, today's hero.
yeah. The same way, like with Will Smith, he was everybody's hero. One little thing, he's American most wanted, most hated. You know, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy.
It's funny because like you said, is that when you look at life, you look at somebody's life, you look at their legacy, it's a whole picture. It's not just a portion of who they were,
Exactly.
and say, "Oh, this was this person." When you go back in Malcolm, like I said, when I was 17, I had like really got into Malcolm heavy, and I went downtown Newark and I bought all these tapes and stuff. And I think so many books. It's more books on Malcolm than probably any other black figure that
For
I
real?
know.
Okay.
It's a lot on Martin, but Malcolm is a lot. And I'm gonna tell you what book is about a particular person more than anybody. It's more books on John F. Kennedy than, oh my goodness. You go in Barnes and
Really?
Noble, you see whole sections full of the Kennedy family
Wow.
and John F. Kennedy. But back to Malcolm is I always find it interesting because so many other things that he said from a political standpoint, the racial climate in the 60s are prevalent today.
Yeah, ain't nothing changed for real.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of us be like, we were raised and born on the heels of the civil rights bill. And he got killed right before a couple years before the bill got signed. And it's like, how the heck did he know this? And then all this would happen. And then Martin got killed. And then 30 years later, 40 years later, we're still in the same boat with not really having no political weight, not having no voice, um, continuously marching when stuff happening.
What do you
Um,
think they fear? Like what do they fear so much of us, um finding ourselves as a people?
I think one of the things, and it goes back to it's funny you asked me that because like I told you I'll be in my thoughts and I'm a sapiosexual, like I'll be all over the place sometimes. But I think that one of the bigger issues for why they fear is that if you look at race in this country, it's a social construct. And with that social construct, black Americans have accepted and wore with a badge of honor is being considered black. Now, people need to understand who they are. With being
Hmm.
black, with being indigenous to this land, is that everybody that we may see that is white today, we're not white yesterday. Italians was not considered white at one time in this country.
Hmm.
Irish was not considered white one time in this country. And what happened is if you start addressing specifically black people's needs, like we talked about yesterday during our trending show, if you make a law that says specifically for black people who have been lynched for 400 years in this country,
Yes.
you're admitting to your wrong. Once you, and I'm a huge advocate of reparations. They're owed. I'm a huge advocate of having certain laws on the books that are owed. The fear
Yeah.
is, I believe, the fear is if they do it, if you admit you're wrong, now you got to clean up the mess. Spilling aisle nine. Okay,
Yeah.
you announced spilling aisle nine. Now
Yeah.
the maintenance guy got to go down there and clean it up. So if they were to admit what they did and what they've been doing since for 400 years,
Forever.
now you got to readdress what happened to us during Reconstruction, what happened to us during Jim Crow, what happened to us getting phased out of the housing, and up until this day, housing discrimination and how it's targeted
Hmm.
towards black people and people that have been disenfranchised, and basically the civil rights movement was hijacked,
Mm.
and it was basically stolen from us as well. So I think that is one of the biggest issues why is so much resistance.
Yeah, because it's just I'm like, you know what I don't like? You fill out an application and they ask what's your race. My qualifications should be the only thing that you're looking at. My education, my qualifications. Why do it matter what color I am? That should be taken off applications. You know what I'm saying? I believe that, but
Well,
they of course they're
the
not going
thing
to
is
do it.
crazy about it is that some of those things that's on these applications like that are quote unquote for data for census. Companies get kickbacks for hiring quote unquote minorities, but in the long run, those things have not been beneficial towards definitely a lot of our women, because our women don't really benefit from these type of things.
Yeah.
Affirmative action. Affirmative action basically has been a crutch and basically the band-aid, and people that have benefited the most statistically have been white women, because they feel as though that white women are a minority in this country.
Wow.
So I think that's the main
Privilege.
reason why, like, yeah, it will make you think like, damn, the whole
It's,
civil
it's
right.
it's sad. And then and that's what I'm saying. As far as with our race, if they see how they stepping on our black men, and how they try to hold our black women down, and then we go at each other next. We the
Yeah,
only race that do that. Do you see it on
we
Instagram
we
or
fall for the
Facebook?
bait and switch.
Huh?
We fall for the bait and switch game.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like on social media, you'll always hear, the angry black man, and you'll hear the angry black woman. I ain't never seen a angry white man talk about an angry white woman in my life, in my whole life. But you know what I think it is? They put in our heads to hate each other, like to hate our own skin. You know, we bees to men, and men
Mhm.
ain't ish to women, or dogs, or weak, or it's just it's mind boggling. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like Malcolm said, we fall for it every time. It's one recording that Malcolm did when he was talking about how the black woman is the most unprotected person on face of this earth.
It's
And I
true.
know a lot of black women who still feel that way, who's growing up being taught that. And it's like, that was a wrong then. It's a wrong now. And for people to continue regurgitating and believing this, and basically allowing it to happen, that women, particularly black women, are not feeling protected when they leave the home, when they're inside their own
I about
home
to say,
from
sometime when
domestic
you in the
abuse.
home, you kind of targeted, and it's sad. Like we targeted all the way around the board. Just
It's like a continuous thing of what I call normal dysfunction. Like,
yeah,
you think it's normal, but it'd be straight dysfunctional behavior. And then until you step away from it, you like, damn, that wasn't normal. We don't need to be arguing. And then we wonder why our kids continues to be like, where they get it from.
yeah.
Sometimes we look on social media, and a person will be like, why are these kids acting up? Why are they doing this? They need to do this. But in the long run, yeah, they're somebody else's kids, by birth, but these are our kids. Nobody's taking
Exactly.
responsibility and be like, they're our kids. I even go back to, and this may be taking a little bit off topic, twerking. And I
Mm-hmm.
always bug out when people say, "Oh, they shouldn't be twerking." And it's like, whenever our culture has its unique way of dancing, it's always problem. Back in the
But
day, Jokers was doing the butt. That
yep, to
was a
give it up.
dance. Like,
Remember to give it
yeah,
up.
to give it up. And it's like, okay, these are dances that people have created,
But the
and then
dances from
people,
Africa,
it has
it's
its
just it's
origins.
art. It's really art.
Yeah.
It's really art. And then
So
you know what it is? The problem is that people can't. I think that, like, from the perverts. So that's the only reason why you don't want a young child dancing, but it's really art that she could move
yeah,
like that. She's so young, and it's talent, it's gifts, but you can't you tell your child, I don't want you twerking, because a grown man might look at you in that way.
exactly, exactly,
So it is we not, like, you go back to us feeling not protected. So that's when you hear a woman say that about, or that she too grown. It's not that, is she afraid for her, because we know what's out.
exactly. So I always like I said, I was on my Malcolm, loving all his beautiful speeches, and I was just listening to a speech where he was talking about, how so many people don't love. Like, he ushered in, him and a few others ushered in the Proud to Be Black movement, the James Browns, the Elijah Muhammad was part of it, Nina Simone, like, having that black, that, like Nina Simone says in her one of her shows, she like, it's that black, and she explains black, and it's like you could feel it in her words, like having pride about who you are, um, pride about the color of your skin and not think that you have to always assimilate and be something that you're not. Unmute your mic, Faith. Yeah, Faith to be back. Just log out and come back in. Somebody probably was calling you. So yeah, so the topic for those that's just joining us is we just having a quick discussion and talk on Malcolm and the legacy of Malcolm. I'm gonna play something. Just give me 1 second. Faith to be back in 1 second, you guys. I'm gonna play something in regard to Malcolm. Hold on. Hold on, you guys.
In order for you and me to devise some kind of method or strategy to offset some of the events or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough. And it is because of our effort toward getting straight to the root that people oftentimes think we're dealing in hate. We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you? And I, for one, as a Muslim, believe that the white man is intelligent enough. If he were made to realize how black people really feel and how fed up we are without that old compromising sweet talk. Stop sweet talking him. Tell him how you feel. Tell him what kind of hell you've been catching, and let him know that if he's not ready to clean his house up, if he's not ready to clean his house up, he shouldn't have a house. It should catch on fire.
Dang.
Yeah,
Dang.
I was listening to that piece earlier, like, wow, and it's like literally outside of him being a member of the Nation of Islam then and being dead today, what is he saying wrong? We
I
still
didn't.
being oppressed. Like you think about the brothers that put themselves in predicament. I know a lot of people will be like, well, people put themselves there to be out in the streets. You gotta look at a lot of people are basically born into a disadvantage, born into being in bad circumstances. I mean, people live on, from you moving from
Yeah.
where you from, moving somewhere else, and then you see how we're congested in these big cities, and it's like we're living on top of each other.
Yeah.
Everybody's struggling just to make ends meet every day, and then for some people, this is what draws them to crime, and it's like the oppression. It's not a physical oppression, but it's a financial, it's emotional, psychological, sociological oppression on our people.
Somebody text
I
me.
can hear you. Somebody texting you, huh?
Yeah, aggravate, and they just. But What you say? The last part you said
It's like fate. Nothing has changed since he made that speech.
is true. That's what I'm saying. That's the sad part. Like, what are we going to do? Like, I'm tired of. I marched. I marched for a couple of people that died. I marched for my cousin, Brandon Tate Brown. He got shot in the back of his head out here in Philadelphia by a police officer,
Wow,
unarmed. They
wow,
said that the officer, first of all, he stopped him because they said his lights wasn't on. Um, you know, his car, as soon as you turn it on, the lights come on. So that they lied there. Then they said that they saw a gun in his car, and so when they had him trying to cuff him or whatever, um he told them he was like, why did you put cuffs on me for, basically, what's going on, because they was putting cuffs on him while they asking questions, I guess, but basically from the video, um he was like, he tried to, he never hit nobody, he tried to get away, and when he ran to the driver's side, to the rear of the car, and the white cop just shot him in the back of his head,
wow.
drug his body to the passenger side, opened the door, and said it was a gun in the console. Now that's all on camera. My cousin saw it with her own eyes, with them tampering with evidence, everything, and they still said it was justifiable, saying that it was a gun in the car. The other officer that was with him, they both was rookies, but was Chinese. He threw up at the scene. He had to get psychiatric help afterwards from seeing him kill an unarmed black man, shot in the back of his head. So he wasn't coming at him. He wasn't trying to fight him. He was trying to run, you know. And
And if he had a gun on him and he
no, they
threatened him
they
with a gun, why would he get shot in the back of the head? He would have got shot in the front of the head, as he was a
yeah,
threat to the
no, he
to the
said he never
officer.
touched the gun. They said that it was in the car, and that they shot him in the. He said he shot him in the back of his head because he felt as though he's about to run to. Now the way they set it up, they had his body by the driver's side door, dead. Cameras show that he drug his body on a passenger side door,
Wow,
and then
lost your volume. Lost your volume, Faith. Go out and come back in. She'll be back. Could, I could hear you now or no? Okay, she'll be back.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, y'all. This phone calling me. So basically, and she did a civil suit, but she quit because it was just too much on her. You know, she gave up. She had threats from the police station, other officers. They was stalking her house. We marched. We went to some small town, and it was, a lot of white people populated because somebody else um kid got killed. He was about 14, stolen car, and they lit the car up. They lit it up. They shot the car up like 100 times and killed him. He was unarmed. He was just a teenager with a stolen car. So we went to march. We went to march down City Hall, where we was at. The crazy part is, they had snipers. It was the most scariest thing I ever experienced, because we got on the bus, like they had a school bus. They had like four of
Mm-hmm.
them that we rode down the march and support. Baby, once we got there, they had the shot. It was on the buildings, the cops,
they,
snipers.
they had y'all under heavy armed police presence,
When I
but
say the
y'all
scariest
were
thing,
y'all were
it was
doing the
like it was
unarmed
like
march.
something from the 60s or 50s or something. It was, and they told us, cause we was marching in the street. They said, get out the street or get arrested. we couldn't protest. We had to be on the sidewalks and split up. We couldn't be in a. It was just crazy that somebody telling me I can't walk in the street. I'm marching. You know we march. You know we protested, and they didn't even let the woman speak. They said, "All right, it's enough." Or y'all getting like we got on that bus. Philly got on the bus. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and then we go back to the massacre last week, and
It's
to
a,
hear some of our black leadership speak nowadays, um, and
who do we got?
I say that they're just mouthpieces because they don't speak for the people; they speak for themselves. They
Yeah, I
speak,
want to know who
they
we got.
speak, they speak, they speak from a position of basically saying, "I'm weak. We ain't getting
Fear.
nothing." Yeah,
Yep.
they speak scared.
Yep.
They
Fear.
speak from a point of they getting the butter biscuits, and they're
Yeah.
not speaking because they don't really know the voice of the people. The people are fed up, and it's like, damn, you were fed up during Malcolm's days. You're fed up now. Like, what's changed? And it's like, I think for a lot of black people, you've seen where they basically did what we would say, um, as they say, white flight. I think a lot of black people do black flight, and they move
Hmm.
to certain areas. They move their families to certain areas in the country just to try to avoid situations. But you
Hmm.
can't. You
Yeah.
can't avoid situations because it's never been addressed. It's never been addressed how
But and,
those atrocities back then, and still how they deal
but
with it
look how
now.
it affects. Like right now, I want to move. So I found a beautiful home for me and my babies. 'Cause I got a 16-year-old and my 8-year-old. That's still home with me. So I found a beautiful house, but it's like 95% white. So I changed my mind because my baby, he's 16, but he a big boy. He play
Hmm.
football, and I don't want nobody feeling like they intimidated. The same way I don't want to go to the hood, and because he an A student, he on honor roll, he play football. He could fight because I don't raise no wimps or nothing. But he know he just to protect himself, and
It's
he a
like you
big
in a
guy,
catch 22.
huh?
It's like you in a catch 22. You don't want him to be in the inner cities,
Yeah,
but then you
because
don't want him to be
I'm
too
scared of
much
my
in the
own people
suburbs.
hurting them.
Yeah,
I'm scared of my own people hurting them, and then I want to move in a better. I love the house. The neighborhood is good, but it's all like 95% white. I don't have time. They don't recognize him, or somebody just coming home from vacation and I was a black guy, big black guy, and somebody hurt my baby. So I need to move around people like me. You know what I'm saying? My color, but like me. Just because you're my color don't mean you're like me. No, we gotta keep it real. You know, I
all
fear
skin
for his
folk ain't
life.
kinfolk. I'm telling you.
Going to school, coming home. Like if he late coming from practice, I'm calling him. I'm worried. When he goes to the basketball court, I'm afraid that his own kind hurt him because he played all sports good. He like that, you
Yeah.
know. But and so I fear my own people, and then I gotta fear that. That's not right.
Once again, it goes back to what Malcolm said, that the black woman don't feel protected.
Yeah,
Um, really, really, really crazy
it's
thing.
really true.
Crazy thing.
The only way I feel protected, I just pray. That's the only thing I could do is ask God to cover him when he out my sight.
Hmm.
And I think it's so wrong that I have to really pray that my own people don't hurt my baby for no reason, just for because he not in the streets, he not a thug, or he ain't selling drugs, he not, you know, and they think they'll pick on him, he gonna hurt him because he could fight, but they don't fight no more. They wasn't taught to fight. They don't know how to fight. So they gonna get guns. Now you're gonna shoot my baby. So I'm living in fear.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we gave Malcolm his due on his day.
Yeah, Malcolm's still disappointed because we living in fear. The women still not being protected. The children definitely they is killing our kids left and
So
right.
it's like, it's funny. It's like we're basically going to the bathroom on his legacy,
Yeah,
and the legacy of those who came before us, because nothing has changed. We give these people street names in schools named after them, but
and
their message hasn't
yes,
really resonated on our people.
that's the crazy part. You honor their death by changing. And it ain't like we not, you know, we don't want to be treated different. We wanted to be treated the same. That's it.
Yeah, as
They
as a
they
friend of
tell
mine,
me,
she,
oh,
she
y'all
always said,
blacks always whining and y'all always saying this. It didn't change. That's why we're still
yeah,
screaming from the top of our lungs.
freedom, justice, and equality and equal protection under the law, which is crazy that this fight has continued on and on and on for the last 400 years. With that, any final thoughts? Or that's it, Faith?
No, we just gotta pray for each other. I don't. I when it comes to the race thing, and especially with our own people, it really, really bothers me. Cause we getting jumped, and I always say that we getting jumped out here. What about the people like me and you? You know, I'm from the streets. I'm from the hood, and you know the hood is still in you when you gotta come out. But you know, you grow up, you want change. You
Hmm.
know, and honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. Back then, I remember I had to be like around um 8 or 9, and I wanted to be white only because I felt as though black people was poor. I did not know that, you know,
It was a
I was in
reason.
poverty. Yeah. So I like just, you know, a meal. If you had your parent in your house black, if you ate 3 meals a day, you was rich to us. I'm serious.
We're gonna
I,
definitely discuss that. That'll be something for a trending topic, and people don't
yeah, it's
realize
true.
how for a lot of us we come from some very humble beginnings, and that really
You
the
wouldn't believe
majority of
it.
the majority of black people didn't start seeing no money where they could just, as they say, be like the Jeffersons and come up a little bit until the 80s,
Yeah.
going into the 90s. But with that, we're gonna close the show, and I'm gonna let my boy Malcolm just play one last time.
Yeah, I want to hear him.
In order for you and me to devise some kind of method or strategy to offset some of the events or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough. And it is because of our effort toward getting straight to the root that people oftentimes think we're dealing in hate. We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?